She had a candle in her hand and was directing her steps toward the great door at the end of the corridor. But a door at the side opened, and when she returned at the end of some minutes, Cornudet, in his suspenders, followed her. They spoke low, then they stopped. Ball of Fat seemed to be defending the entrance to her room with energy. Loiseau, unfortunately, could not hear all their words, but finally, as they raised their voices, he was able to catch a few. Cornudet insisted with vivacity. He said, "Come now, you are a silly woman. What harm can be done?" She had an indignant air in responding, "No, my dear, there are moments when such things are out of place. Here it would be a shame." He doubtless did not comprehend, and asked why. Then she cried out, raising her voice still more, "Why? You do not see why? When there are Prussians in the house, in the very next room, perhaps?" He was silent. This patriotic shame of the harlot who would not suffer his caress so near the enemy must have awakened the latent dignity in his heart, for, after simply kissing her, he went back to his own door with a bound. Loiseau, much excited, left the aperture, cut a caper in his room, put on his pyjamas, turned back the clothes that covered the bony carcass of his companion, whom he awakened with a kiss, murmuring, "Do you love me, dearie?" Then all the house was still, and immediately there arose somewhere from an uncertain quarter, which might be the cellar, but was quite as likely to be the garret, a powerful snoring, monotonous and regular, a heavy, prolonged sound, like a great kettle under pressure. Mr. Follenvie was asleep. As they had decided that they would set out at 8 o'clock the next morning, they all collected in the kitchen. But the carriage, the roof of which was covered with snow, stood undisturbed in the courtyard, without horses and without a conductor. They sought him in vain in the stables, in the hay, and in the coach-house. Then they resolved to scour the town, and started out. They found themselves in a square, with a church at one end and some low houses on either side, where they perceived some Prussian soldiers. The first one they saw was paring potatoes. The second, further off, was cleaning the hairdresser's shop. Another, bearded to the eyes, was tending a troublesome brat, cradling it and trying to appease it. And the great peasant women, whose husbands were away in the army, indicated by signs to their obedient conquerors the work they wished to have done: cutting wood, cooking the soup, grinding the coffee, or what not. One of them even washed the linen of his hostess, an impotent old grandmother. The Count, astonished, asked questions of the beadle who came out of the rectory. The old man responded, "Oh, those men are not wicked. They are not the Prussians we hear about. They are from far off, I know not where, and they have left wives and children in their country. It is not amusing to them, this war, I can tell you. I am sure they also weep for their homes, and that it makes as much sorrow among them as it does among us. Here, now, there is not so much unhappiness for the moment, because the soldiers do no harm, and they work as if they were in their own homes. You see, sir, among poor people, it is necessary that they aid one another. These are the great traits which war develops." Cornudet, indignant at the cordial relations between the conquerors and the conquered, preferred to shut himself up in the inn. Loiseau had a joke for the occasion. "They will repeople the land." Mr. Carré Lamadon had a serious word. "They try to make amends." But they did not find the driver. Finally they discovered him in a café of the village, sitting at a table fraternally with the officer of ordnance. The Count called out to him, "Were you not ordered to be ready at 8 o'clock?" "Well, yes, but another order has been given me since." "By whom?" "Faith, the Prussian commander." "What was it?" "Not to harness at all." "Why?" "I know nothing about it. Go and ask him. They tell me not to harness, and I don't harness. That's all." "Did he give you the order himself?" "No, sir, the innkeeper gave the order for him." "When was that?" "Last evening, as I was going to bed." The three men returned, much disturbed. They asked for Mr. Follenvie, but the servant answered that gentleman, because of his asthma, never rose before 10 o'clock, and he had given strict orders not to be wakened before that, except in case of fire. They wished to see the officer, but that was absolutely impossible, since, while he lodged at the inn, Mr. Follenvie alone was authorized to speak to him upon civil affairs. So they waited. The women went up to their rooms again and occupied themselves with futile tasks. Cornadet installed himself near the great chimney in the kitchen, where there was a good fire burning. He ordered one of the little tables to be brought from the café, then a can of beer. He then drew out his pipe, which plays among Democrats a part almost equal to his own, because in serving Cornadet it was serving its country. It was a superb pipe, an admirably colored meerschaum, as black as the teeth of its master, but perfumed, curved, glistening, easy to the hand, completing his physiognomy. And he remained motionless, his eyes as much fixed upon the flame of the fire as upon his favorite tipple and its frothy crown. And each time that he drank, he passed his long, thin fingers through his scanty, gray hair with an air of satisfaction, after which he sucked in his mustache fringed with foam. Loiseau, under the pretext of stretching his legs, went to place some wine among the retailers of the country. The Count and the manufacturer began to talk politics. They could foresee the future of France. One of them believed in an Orleans, the other in some unknown savior for the country, a hero who would reveal himself when all were in despair. A Gusselin, or a Joan of Arc, perhaps, or would it be another Napoleon I? If the Prince Imperial were not so young! Cornadet listened to them and smiled like one who holds the word of destiny. His pipe perfumed the kitchen. As 10 o'clock struck, Mr. Follenvie appeared. They asked him hurried questions, but he could only repeat 2 or 3 times, without variation, these words:
"The officer said to me, 'Mr. Follenvie, you see to it that the carriage is not harnessed for those travelers tomorrow. I do not wish them to leave without my order. That is sufficient.'"
Then they wished to see the officer. The Count sent him his card, on which Mr. Carré Lamadon wrote his name and all his titles. The Prussian sent back word that he would meet the 2 gentlemen after he had breakfasted, that is to say, about 1 o'clock. The ladies reappeared and ate a little something despite their disquiet. Ball of Fat seemed ill and prodigiously troubled. They were finishing their coffee when the word came that the officer was ready to meet the gentlemen. Loiseau joined them, but when they tried to enlist Cornadet to give more solemnity to their proceedings, he declared proudly that he would have nothing to do with the Germans, and he betook himself to his chimney corner and ordered another liter of beer. The 3 men mounted the staircase and were introduced to the best room of the inn, where the officer received them stretched out in an armchair, his feet on the mantelpiece, smoking a long porcelain pipe, and enveloped in a flamboyant dressing gown, appropriated, without